welcome back to Pokemon Platinum. We stopped Team Galactic doing whatever it is they were doing here, so yeah, if you have a full party, which you're likely to have, you have to come all the way back here to get your Riolu egg.
Oh, God.
Thankfully, I do not care, so I just leave them here for all of eternity.
When did they start making it so that you could, like, send it to the
Box.
box?
I want to say Gen 6.
Yeah, because I'm, like, 90% sure it wasn't even Gen 5 that let you do that. So,
Yeah.
Gen 6 sounds about right. I definitely know you can do it in Gen 7.
Yeah, so I think it's like one of the few good things Gen 6 actually did.
Well, I mean, not for nothing, but the Pokemon search system on the bottom screen was amazing, and I wish they didn't get rid of it for the stupid, what is it called? The Festival Plaza in Gen 7,
Yeah.
which is not nearly as good.
It's almost like Game Freak comes up with ideas and uses them for only one generation instead of fleshing them out and keeping them if they're good.
Yep.
So, like, the Pokemon box. In the universe, what happens to your Pokemon when you put them in the box?
Well, you see, what happens is you digitize them, and they live in the internet. So they're technically like digital monsters or something, I guess.
You know what? That sounds catchy. They should like make a show completely about that or something.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yeah, but I always just imagined that whenever they were in the Pokeball or in the box, there was just like a little like virtual environment that they run around in, or either that or they're just basically asleep. Those were my head canons. I don't know if they ever...
people have done nightmare fuel-induced things involving, being stuck in a Pokeball forever.
I mean, if you think about it, just like you can very easily make it like that,
Yeah, some trainer with like 6 Pokemon in his pocket gets caught in a landslide out in the buttfuck middle of nowhere, and their Pokeballs just are buried and never found. It's a sad fate, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now I've made the entire comment section sad.
Frickin' why is it Pokemon always has like the weirdest nightmare fuel kind of stuff, and it's just Pokemon when plenty of other video games have just as nightmare fuel.
Pokemon prides itself on being super kid friendly.
Oh yeah, that's true. They never
is one of the things, and the other is just there's a lot of unfortunate implications on just the world when you just stop to think about it for more than 2 seconds.
I mean, like it's one of those cases where a lot of the concepts are deliberately video gamey because it's a video game, but if you were to take the logic of the universe at face value, there's a lot of logistical problems here, and they're logistical problems of the biblical catastrophe proportions. So like, yeah, it's pretty scary.
I'm just surprised it took them 5 games to even do a little bit of self-reflection on that matter, because they don't talk about this crap at all up until Gen 5.
And then they probably ignore it after Gen 5.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like Gen 6 mentions a Pokemon War, but it's like, oh, it just existed. Well,
And
what happened in it?
It's
it
like they mention, oh yeah, if there was war, Pokemon would be used in it. What would that mean? What would life be like? Is it ethical? They don't want to answer those questions, so they don't. That's pretty much how Gen 6 was. I mean, I guess Gen 7 no, not really. Gen 7's much more about the human characters than it doesn't really say anything. There's like one line about how, oh, you just put the Pokemon in the box. If you don't like them, you're just as bad as me. And then that's literally all they'll ever say about
it's like, well, if we could, we wouldn't. But at the same time, this is a video game. You kind of have to have something like that.
Not to mention, they make the option of releasing the Pokemon so sad that you never want to do it. Like, I think the only thing that's ever made me feel worse than going out of your way to release a Pokemon is Chow Garden in Adventure 2. Definitely Adventure 2. I don't know about Adventure 1.
You mean when it quote unquote leaves on a journey?
Yeah, and it plays the sad music, and it has like the little traditional like rucksack kind of thing over its shoulder, and it's being all like, "Oh man, you're never going to see it again." and whatnot, and it's just like they clearly don't want you to do this, even if that Chow is absolute garbage, and you've been trying to get the Angel one for an hour and you don't know how to do it.
It's more like, okay, they're trying to foster like a very thin, admittedly, but an emotional connection between the player and these creatures that are supposed to be your digital pets. And if they do that and the release option doesn't cater to that in some fashion, it's going to feel cheap.
Yeah, that is true. Yes, but
So, yeah.
that is true. But at the same time, oh god, I think it's
At the same time, oh, this is your favorite one? Well, it's not in this generation, so too bad. Flap.
actually, you know what? I just kind of wish that there was an option like the manga. Actually, Crystal in the Gold Silver Crystal manga, the character Crystal is going out and collecting, Pokedex entries for the Pokedex and whatnot. And if I remember correctly, I might be misremembering, the majority of the Pokemon she catches, she just kind of releases immediately after she's done studying them. That's kind of how it's somewhat similar to how a lot of real-life animal research works, where, they either stay from a distance and observe them or whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, it would be cool, even
The
just
logistical
as...
problem, though, is that animals in captivity, like if they're kept in captivity for any length of time, don't do so well in the wild anymore afterward.
Yeah. That's why many shelters will only keep injured wild animals as long as it takes for them to get well,
Yeah.
and then I just wish for, even just for roleplay reasons, like you could be like, okay, you caught Rattata. Do you want to keep him or do you want to send him back out or whatnot? And maybe he'll like give you an item or something if you release him or whatever, Like, that's not a feature I would ever expect to be in a Pokemon game, but it would be like a neat little roleplay kind of thing if they wanted
some
to
incentive to play in character in a different style rather than just collecting Pokemon for the sake of having more party members.
Yeah, because being a Pokemon researcher and trying to fill out the Pokedex doesn't necessarily mean catching one of every species and then keeping them in a computer forever and ever. I mean, some people do that too. Living dexes are a thing, but
I have a living dex.
But who says that there's nothing wrong with that too? Because now that I'm thinking about it, Gen 7's Poke Isle with the Pokebeans, that sounds like a baller place to live. Like there's hot spas and they get to do farming and go on adventures. I'd love to live there.
I'm pretty like ambivalent toward the concept of Nuzlocke, but I do like the idea of playing through a Pokemon game, adhering strictly to that roleplay mentality of you're a Pokemon trainer whose goal is to research Pokemon, and you're not going to keep Pokemon that aren't in your main team any longer than necessary. Like, you might keep them long enough to fully evolve them and get all the entries, but if you're not going to use them, you're not going to use them. Don't hoard.
Yeah, I think this is something that people have mentioned a couple of times, but a Pokemon game where you could be more than just a Pokemon trainer would be neat, because there's lots of other Pokemon jobs,
Yeah,
and I think...
I get the feeling that someone in the comments is about to type off an angry, or already has typed off an angry comment, like talking about how we're like trying to make video games less video gamey. Not exactly. This kind of stuff.
It's almost like we had a game where your job was to be a nature photographer in the world of Pokemon, and everyone wants it back.
It's interesting to think about because, like, if this series were not in the hands of someone of some company that was happy to just regurgitate the same formula over and over, we could explore these things in a pretty satisfying mechanical way and see the series evolve into something. Imagine a Pokemon game.
We have to match the anime timing.
Imagine a Pokemon game with the kind of like roleplay options you would find in something in depth like an Obsidian game.
Like a Mass Effect Pokemon game would be...
Mass Effect. That's pretty weak. You're aiming for the moon, and I'm telling you to shoot for the stars.
I don't know what games Obsidian's made.
Obsidian is more like Fallout New Vegas or...
Lewis, which star? Our sun, Alpha Centauri, what?
The one that got the Robinson family lost in space, okay? The one you can't possibly reach. Just like from a game design like thought experiment standpoint, I'm imagining the kind of things you could do in a really deep, complex Pokemon game, which is something they would never make because the series is still catering to children. And that's the kind of roleplay that like only niche Western RPG fans are really clamoring for, unfortunately.
I think it was Jay Witz who did a video about this, and I might be misremembering what he said, but even just spin-offs with different gameplay styles surrounding it, like, Hospital Simulator, where you play as Nurse Joy, and you have to, like, deal with the actual logistical crap of being, like, a Pokemon Center. It's just like, it's...
Adventures on days when the magical Pokemon healing machine at the front desk doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly, where it's just like, oh man, I can't just plop them in here. And because they've examined, okay, where did Pokeballs come from? It's just like, oh, they used these at fruit and then emptied their shells, and then the Pokemon just went in there. They don't actually flush it out all that much, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, but they tried, A for effort. So maybe like if you think how they healed Pokemon before they came up with the Pokemon Center would be neat lore kind of stuff. The lore in Pokemon has always been more interesting than the story anyway.
Now I'm imagining like a Pokemon game set in medieval times.
Oh, they kind of did that. There was the Pokemon crossover with
Nobunaga's
Ambition, which apparently is very good. So I should give it a shot one of these
Well,
days.
yeah, but I was meaning more like from an in-universe lore standpoint. Like, what would this world be like in the medieval times?
I would also like that too. Oh.
Yield Pokemon Shop. It's a bunch of people on Pan Foods playing the shop music.
There's a lot of potential for this kind of thing in the Pokemon series, but they'll never tap into it. Not even in spin-offs, because the spin-offs are the cheaper games.
They haven't even really the spin-offs.
They haven't done spin-offs in a while.
They've done more mobile stuff. Like the last major spin-off I can think of was probably that got like a full release was probably the Mystery Dungeon one, which they've done a bunch of.
Ishihara is more content to make a bunch of mini games and chopping up the actual formula and releasing it on phones to make money from each individual app.
Which I mean, I guess I can't. We keep on buying them, so can't blame them for that. But
the other reason you can't really, unfortunately, expect Game Freak or Nintendo to pioneer this kind of stuff is because, well, the Pokemon series caters very specifically to more casual people who enjoy simplicity in their gameplay, and that's not a bad way to go. But if you make like too complex a game or idea, it turns people off. I mean, even Black and White turned some fans of Pokemon off because the stories.
It was too different at the time. I remember people were upset about that. When you think about it, many of the spin-offs are also very simplistic in gameplay nature because they want to appeal to Pokemon fans who just want something light, which is why so many of them are pretty basic and not very good.
Yeah.
All things considered, like a lot of people clamor for a new Pokemon Snap, but I still hold firm that the original Pokemon Snap was not very fun because you just watched the whole game.
It's a great idea in concept. It needs to be fleshed out more.
The opportunity for an actually good Pokemon Snap sequel died with the Wii U. So
yeah,
pretty much, yeah. Like, I guess maybe they could have done it in VR, or not VR, AR, mobile. You could
that's a thing.
Because like
I was gonna say they could do it on phones if they really wanted to, and that's probably one of the few mobile spin-offs that would actually make sense to do it that way.
Because then because I'm imagining the very first Pokemon Go trailers, like if it actually felt like that in real life, but with you just trying to take pictures of Pokemon instead of catching them.
A Switch version actually would be pretty good if it had like a dedicated system for when you're playing in handheld mode, and you could use the motion control to use your Switch like a camera.
That would actually probably work okay because Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. If you ever get that game, don't ever play it docked because trying to aim the Pokeballs in dock mode is awful. When you're playing it in handheld mode, you kind of move the system around, and then as you do, that kind of moves where the Pokeball would go. It actually
Actually, didn't
moving
have any trouble
it-
aiming the Pokeball in Let's Go Eevee, and I was playing it
there
docked.
there are a lot of points where like I swear that I wasn't doing a side throw and it gave me a side throw and stuff like that.
It's absurdly finicky.
But moving it in handheld mode almost feels like, moving a camera. Now that I think about it. So yeah, that could the motion control for that could work perfectly fine. So I think that would work.
Yeah.
Good. Pokemon adheres to the concept of the TV is always displaying whatever is relevant to the plot.
It would be great if somebody's like, quick, turn on channel 5, and then it's just showing like a peanut butter ad or something, and it's just like, what about the breaking story? They showed that 5 minutes ago. Oh, they're not going to show it again till 10.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a relic of a time when everyone had a television in their house, and it was always turned to the news because your parents are boring, and they just have the television on in the background because your parents also don't care about conserving electricity. So you would always get this situation where the news was playing and my alarm clock is going off. So I'll be right back.
I was just like, whose popcorn just finished? And why isn't the Dorn building burnt down yet?
Yeah, this Easy Mac has been in the microwave for 2 seconds longer than it should have. The whole place is on fire.
Oh God, just never give anybody in a college like a frying pan, because then they're going to.
It's not even the fucking frying pan. It's the freaking microwave.
How do you screw up trying to make a microwave Easy Mac? I don't even
Someone's
know.
fucking every college dorm it fucking happens.
Okay,
Even mine.
here's the thing. All right, microwavable macaroni and cheese, particularly the cheaper brands, tend to be a bit fiddly with how much water you need to put in and whatever powdery substance they use to keep it from boiling over. So, yeah. Also, there are a lot of people who just stick things in the microwave and turn the dial and don't look at the time. So there's.
I was gonna say the mac and cheese are messed up enough to where it will cause the smoke alarm to go off.
Yeah, because at least when it's popcorn, it's like, okay, at least it's popcorn that does burn and make smoke. But when it's mac and cheese, I'm like, how?
How do you heat up mac and cheese that much? I have no idea. Most of the time, when I mess up at mac and cheese, it's because the water boiled over and got at the bottom, and I have to mop it up, and it's annoying. But the mac and cheese is still perfectly edible, so it's fine.
I mean, now I could go for some mac and cheese,
Jesus.
so I'm hungry. Damn
Oh
it.
no, the Magikarp. They're doing exactly what they normally do anyway.
Hey, does picking them up off the ground count for those, like little mini games they have in many of the games where it's just like catch the biggest Magikarp? If not,
Sadly,
it should.
No. Why is the lake drained?
Because they're trying to get the not Muse.
Oh yeah, so one of
I'm sorry, the Celestial trio in this game are probably the weakest trio of legendaries in this entire series.
Okay, you know what? I love Gen 5, but the genies are pretty lame.
At least they have different designs.
I mean, they look pretty similar to each other too, though, is also the thing. Like I guess
but they're not generic psychic type with no move pool.
I guess, they do look different from other Pokemon than, these guys look from Mew. But yeah, I agree. Oh god, it's Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf. Yeah, I never really cared about them.
They're just worse versions of Mew.
The other thing is that Gen 4 has so many legendaries is also the thing. It's really, I think we've already had this discussion before, but I don't really think that a game needs like 60,000 legendaries in order to have a lot of content, because honestly, catching legendary Pokemon is not usually one of the funner things about Pokemon.
It's one of the things that grabs the kids' attention, though.
I mean, I guess that's true, but finding the legendary Pokemon is the fun part. Actually catching them is not the fun part.
Yeah.
And these guys don't even have, like, dungeons to them.
Yeah,
like,
it's
say
just,
the birds from Gen 1 did.
It's kind of like think back to when you were like a really young, stupid kid. The legendaries were like the coolest things in the game. You know, it's like
Yeah, but
Mewtwo, wow, Zapdos, excellent, and you had you stuffed every single one of them into your party because it's like Super Saiyan. You know, it just
yeah,
has
but
that cool factor to a kid.
I think part of what made them cool though was is that in the game they had their own areas. There was a lot of build up to them. Like you go through the entire power plant just to find Zapdos if you've already played the game before, or if you're playing the game for the first time and don't know about legendaries, then you go through the power plant thinking it's just an area in the game, and then suddenly you find this scary, very powerful electric bird at the end of it, and you're like, oh my gosh. Whereas many of the legendaries in this game don't really have anything like that. I mean, a few of them do. But the spirits, the lake spirits, if I remember correctly, you just walk back into their room after the game.
In Diamond and Pearl, I think. In Platinum, the one of them is a roamer.
Oh, okay.
The other two, you just walk into their cave and they're there.
Okay, well, being a roamer isn't an
Any
improvement.
better? Yeah.
I mean, granted, I guess it's better than just walking into the room, but
They made it really simple from Gen 2 onward. They made it really simple to find the legendary, so that you would know you were searching for a legendary when you searched for a legendary.
Well, in Gen 2, they at least told you it was there. You still
Yeah,
had to go through
yeah. My point
the
is,
tower and the islands and stuff.
my point is, they did it that way because in the first generation, people would complain that they found the legendary and they didn't have like good Pokeballs or whatever because they didn't know that there was a legendary there. So they would kill it or they would fuck up catching it, and then it was gone forever.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, so I'm fine with them telling you that it's there. It's a matter of, do they have their own special area to make it feel interesting to go get them, instead of just, you're back in there, you're at their lake, you pop in and they're there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, you can go too far the other way, as is the case with the Reggies in Gen 3, but I would still rather have something rather than nothing, and a lot of the legendaries in this game don't really have much.
Oh, you went to the post-game island in Gen 4? Look, there's Heaton, go catch him.
Does Heatran even really count as a legendary? Because he has a gender, or it has a gender, which no other legendary has. But I still think you can't breed it, which is also weird.
No.
So, yeah, it's one of those weird kind of legendaries, I guess.